Right, so we have just found the most venomous spider on Earth. Look at that, he's got red fangs. If I was to get bitten by this species, it'd be excruciating pain. It'd be very hard to get back out of this creek system. That is the most venomous freshwater fish in Australia. Now, they rely on their camouflage and their toxic venom to ward off predators. So we're currently deep in the rainforest of Australia, and in this video what we're going to be attempting to do is track down the deadliest and most venomous spiders on Earth, because a few of them do live out here. So the main species that we're going to be looking for is a spider that can kill an adult human within an hour. And since they started recording, these spiders have actually killed 13 people here in Australia. The Sydney funnel-web spider, one of the most intimidating and defensive spiders on Earth. But the thing about that spider is it actually lives about 12 hours down south from me. So before we actually fly down there and track down one of those spiders, what I thought I'd do is come up this creek today and track down some of the other deadliest spiders. The second most venomous spider in Australia I know lives just up this creek system. So we're gonna go for a walk up this creek, do some exploring, see what creatures we can find, and once we get up there and gauge the temperament of this spider, we might even handle it as well. So let's start walking up the creek. So this cave right here behind me, I was exploring it one day and actually found a bunch of female redback spiders, the second most venomous spider in Australia, living inside this cave, which is rare to see out in the rainforest. Generally, these spiders live close to buildings, close to roads. So to find them out in a place like this, next to a waterfall as beautiful as that, is the coolest thing. So we're gonna go in there, see if we can find one of these spiders, and bring it back out, get it up close to the camera. Pretty insane place to be looking for a spider, which has caused human deaths here in Australia. All right, there's one. And there we go. Take a look at that. The redback spider, the second most venomous spider in Australia, one of the most venomous spiders on Earth. And look at the location that we caught him in. All right, gently bring him back over here. So I'm just gonna let him gently crawl over my hand right now. Take a look at that. What a cool animal. So really, we only have 2 species of spiders in Australia that can kill you, that we will track down in this video. And this is one of them, the redback spider. Now, no matter where you live here in Australia, there's a good chance that on your property, these redback spiders will live. And yeah, this little spider in front of me right here is responsible for more bites out of any venomous species here in Australia. But the reason being is because they're so common. So this redback is a deadly spider, and if I was to get bitten by this species all the way out here, although I'd probably survive, it'd be excruciating pain, headaches, be very hard to get back out of this creek system. So I've picked him up a couple times, but the funny thing is, as soon as I put him on my tripod, he actually climbed up on my tripod, he bit my tripod and started pumping venom into it 3 seconds after I had it on my hand. So I think I'm pretty lucky there. I'm not gonna mess around with this spider anymore. That's a clear warning that she doesn't want anything to do with me and she wants to go back up in her cave. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna keep heading up the creek. There's a few more species of spiders that actually live up this creek that we're gonna try to track down today. Time to put you back up in there, mate. All right, see you later. You wonder how many more redbacks are scattered along this wall. Pretty cool. So what are the most toxic species, drop for drop, that we have here in Australia with the most potent venom? Because over the years, I've nearly encountered all of them out there in the wild, filming animals here in Australia. So when we're talking about fish, the most venomous fish on Earth that also happens to live here in Australia is the stonefish. We've filmed that plenty of times on this channel. But that's a venom that won't necessarily kill you, but it's a venom that causes extreme pain. And for hours, it'll feel like your foot's getting repeatedly smashed by a hammer over and over. But a species that inhabits the same area as those stonefish and also happens to be the most venomous octopus in the world, the blue-ringed octopus, you've got a low chance of surviving that one, because what that venom does is it actually paralyzes you. It stops your body from working and you'll actually stop breathing from paralysis. But the scariest thing about that venom is you'll be completely aware and awake the whole time while this is happening. Absolutely terrifying. And just as scary as that last one, the most venomous snake on Earth, the inland taipan, one drop of that snake's venom can kill 150,000 mice. And the reason why they're so dangerous is because they live in such a remote area that if you get bitten out in that place, there's a low chance that you're gonna survive. Now the crazy thing is, 2 seasons ago, when these snakes will actually come out on the surface, 2 people were bitten all the way out there and happened to survive. One of those 2 cases, the snake didn't actually inject any venom, which is really rare for taipans. But even when I've been out there filming with those snakes and you're out there in the moment looking at this snake, it is such an intense feeling. My whole body was shaking, lactic acid building up in my legs, but they're amazing. They're so cool. And the last one, and a species more dangerous than most of the animals that I just mentioned, is the box jellyfish. And it's an animal that I haven't found yet, but I'm keen to go up North Queensland when it's the right time and try track one of these guys down. So since records began in 1883, there's been 70 people that have died from this species. But when you think about the indigenous people that have lived up in the top end of Australia where these box jellyfish live for thousands of years, you can only imagine how many more deaths from that box jellyfish, from stonefish, from venomous snakes in Australia there's been in this country over the thousands of years that they've actually lived here. Yeah, all those venoms are so different. It's so crazy. We have so many venomous animals in Australia, but unless you go near the water, there's no animals that can really overpower you like bears or mountain lions. Obviously, in the top end of Australia, we have crocodiles. And at the end of last year, we had a massive wake-up call at how sneaky and stealthy and cunning these crocodiles can be. So me and 2 of my mates were actually out in Cape York, and there was this really shallow section of river where each of the pools were maybe about 3 meters long, 2 meters wide, but they were only waist deep. And we've been going down there for 3 days, and you could see in all of these pools there was no crocodiles, nothing in them. And the deeper section of river was about 150 meters upstream, and that's where we'd seen big crocodiles. But over to the side there was one other pool that was pretty deep and could have held a big crocodile. But still, it was more than 50 meters away from where these little pools were that we were going down to catch bait in. And on the last night of our trip, we went down to catch these big cherubin, the big freshwater shrimp that we were using as bait to go fishing out the front of our campsite. And we shined back up to an area that we just walked past, and there was these 2 giant glowing eyes shining back at us, and we knew that that was a decent sized crocodile. I thought maybe it could have been about 2 meters long. And we walked back up, and this crocodile had moved itself from the deeper section of river to an area that we'd been walking past and catching bait, waiting for us to go back past again. So it had been watching us for the past few days, seeing that we'd been walking past these shallow pools, and yeah, you could see how we were kind of led into a false sense of security, thinking that there was no crocodiles in these pools. But luckily I'd been up there plenty of times before and I understand how sneaky crocodiles can be. So we stayed away from those pools, but it's something as simple as that can turn south really quick, and it's so good to show people that if they ever do go up into croc country, to stay well away from the water. But yeah, if you're not in the top end of Australia and you're down in an area like this is about 24-hour drive south of where I was when I saw that big crocodile. There's no crocodiles down here. The only thing you have to worry about are venomous creatures. And I've been walking up these creeks barefoot my whole life. It's very easy to live alongside them. So we're gonna go try find some more. This is a creek that leads out to the ocean, and down a bit further downstream, there should be a species of fish that's actually the most venomous freshwater fish here in Australia. The water's a little bit murky, but we'll see if we can catch one. Look at this place. Are you kidding? All right, we gotta find a way to climb up the top. Would you take a look at this right here? This has to be the smallest sawshell turtle that I've ever found. So he must have just come out of the egg not too long ago, maybe even in the past couple weeks. So the mother sawshell turtle would have found a nice bank to actually lay her eggs in around this area somewhere. And this little guy and his siblings would have hatched out of eggs, crawled into the water and started their life here in this creek system. Now, because he's so young, he hasn't actually learned that the best thing to do would have been to get back in the water. And as he saw me walking past, he just kind of sunk back into his shell. But that is so cool. We're out here looking for a species a lot deadlier than this guy, but every time I see a turtle, there's no way I'm not gonna film it. All right, we'll let you be, mate. This creek right here has the craziest population of freshwater stonefish out of any creek that I've ever explored. I would never actually walk through the water barefoot in this creek. I say that as I'm barefoot walking through this creek, but I would never walk through a deep pool because it's literally a creek filled with landmines. If you step on one of these fish, you're gonna be in the most excruciating pain for sometimes even days. Let's catch him. There we go. Oh, look at that. That is not a fish that you want to get spiked by. That is the most venomous freshwater fish in Australia. The bull rout or freshwater stonefish. Compared to the saltwater stonefish, you can see him right there. How cool is that? These fish can move a lot quicker, sting you a lot easier. I'm gonna try. Alright. Alright. And there we go. Let's bring him to the fish tank. So here in Australia, in most creeks that you find the bass in, if you find mullet in them, there'll be these freshwater stonefish living in there as well. They're just not a species that's seen because of how camouflaged they are. And the name freshwater stonefish is actually misleading because they're not in the stonefish family. They're not like the estuary stonefish and the reef stonefish that I've filmed in previous videos. They're a completely different species, but the reason why people call them that is because the sting is pretty much just as bad. And the reason why I'm grateful to have this platform and be able to film these videos is because people don't know that these fish are in these creeks. But any brackish water creek, even freshwater that leads out to the ocean, you can find these freshwater stonefish in them. But yeah, the reason why I wanted to show you this species, obviously it's not a spider, but it's another type of venom. You'd much rather get stung by this freshwater stonefish than bitten by a funnel web spider. But yeah, if we just get him to move around a bit, you'll be able to see this creature. Now, they rely on their camouflage and their toxic venom to ward off predators. No fish are actually eating these species in this creek, and I think that's why there's such a good population. They've come up with such an amazing defense mechanism to help them survive. You have some species like a mullet which gets eaten by literally everything. There is pretty much nothing that doesn't eat a mullet. But yeah, shout out to this species right here for evolving one of the most painful venoms on Earth. We're gonna let him be, but what a cool looking fish. He was so close to stinging me then, hey. That's fair enough. If he got me then, it would have been completely my fault, but we would have been cancelling the flight down to Sydney tomorrow, that's for sure. I'll see you tomorrow where we go track down the most venomous spider on Earth. So what we're doing is we're actually walking through this small section of bushland out here in Sydney. Now, the reason why we've come to this place is because throughout the last few nights, my mate's come out here and he's actually seen these funnel webs walking around. They're not an uncommon species to find, especially in an area like this. Now, saying that, this area has just been burnt off. So I think the funnel webs are actually on the move because they're trying to escape, find new ground. A lot of the time, they'll find nice little places to bunker and they'll live in there. They'll live under the ground in these webs. That's how they get their name funnel web spider. And you know, any creature that's unlucky enough to go past that web, they'll be sitting out the front with those giant fangs ready to strike out and grab it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hunt around this area for a few hours and I reckon we'll be able to get one of these Sydney funnel webs. We've only got today down here, but yeah, we should be able to do it. So this is what we've been looking for right here, or it's a good sign anyway that we know that funnel webs are in the area, because this, it's not actually a funnel web spider, but it's the shed of one. What looks like a male spider has been walking around here somewhere and it's found a place, shed off that skin, and that's how these spiders actually grow. Yeah, pretty insane, because you can actually see, even on this shed, the size of the fangs of this spider. Here, we'll get a close-up of that. I reckon we're gonna keep walking around for the next hour or so, and we should be able to find one. If we're lifting up little pieces of bark, finding little places around the bottom of trees, that's where these spiders are living. All right, so we have just found the most venomous spider on Earth. Now, if we just lift up this little piece of bark, I just spotted him under here. I don't know where he is right now. So I'm just being very careful because we cannot afford to get bitten by this species of spider out here. Take a look at that right there. Look at that. If I just move this back, that is the Sydney funnel web spider. Look at that, he's got red fangs. I've never seen that before with this species. It's crazy to think that this right here in front of me is arguably the most venomous spider in the world. And it's also crazy how common they are in this area of Sydney. Now, the reason why they're not considered to be the deadliest spider here in Australia is because the RedBack, which is much less venomous than this species, has actually killed more people over the years. But it's because of how common those RedBacks are. Now, we found one earlier on in this video, but I would much rather get bitten by a RedBack than this spider sitting in front of us right here. Now, if we just touch him, you can see those huge fangs. And actually, if you look really closely, On that right fang, there's a drop of venom sitting on it. Now, unlike the redbacks, which are spread to a lot of areas around Australia, these guys don't go too far from around this area. There are other species of funnel web spiders, but they're not nearly as significant as this species right here. Let's get a closer look at him. If we just get him up here, look at that. That is so crazy, and that is the species of spider that we wanted to find out here in the wild. And the most venomous spider on Earth, responsible for multiple human deaths here in Australia. But the good thing for me, if I was to get bitten by this species, since we've created an anti-venom here in Australia, there's been no deaths reported. And he's just as deadly as any of the snakes that I catch, any of the blue ring octopus that I find. And yeah, out of all the spiders that I've worked with, you know, huntsmen's pretty timid animals. Even the redbacks, I'll handle them. But there's no way I'm letting this spider anywhere near me, because you can see they're noticeably defensive. Now, they're not aggressive animals. They'll not necessarily attack you, but as soon as they see a big figure walking past them, they'll stick those fangs up, and they are really intimidating. But if you were bitten by this species, like the snake first aid, what you want to do is you want to stop that venom from traveling as quick as possible, because these spiders have been known to kill people pretty fast here in Australia. So what you do is you apply a compression bandage from the bite site all the way up the limb at which you were bitten on. Don't move, call for help, and you're probably going to be okay. Look at that. Just one of its fangs gently resting on that piece of wood right there. That is insane. Wow, what a cool find. Very intense moments when you're dealing with such deadly animals, hey. You gotta be onto it at all times. I think spiders are so amazing, such amazing creatures. But yeah, I'll be happy to let this guy go. All right. See you later, mate.